I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience as a common pleas court judge here in Franklin County. I'm going to also fall back on a little bit of my experience as a municipal prosecutor, and then depending some of my time when I was working as a defense attorney representing folks that were in the system. Okay, as a common pleas court judge, we handle felony offenses. So felony offenses are your lower level drug offenses, all the way up to your rapes and murders. So I get to see a wide range of individuals coming into my court. We have countywide jurisdiction, which means that I get to see everyone from every community. We live in Gahanna. I can tell you, every time I get a case and I find out that the person lives in Gahanna, the first thing I'm doing is trying to figure out where their address is and where that address is in relation to where we live. We get people from Grandview, obviously. We get people from Upper Arlington for a wide variety of offenses. The opiate epidemic that hit the state of Ohio impacted the criminal justice system because we all began to realize that it was more than just a criminal issue, that it was a health issue, and that we needed to look at different ways to deal with what was going on with the opiate issue here in Ohio. Now, as most of you may be aware, the whole issue with opiates began in the rural areas and then moved to the suburbs. One of the reasons that the criminal justice system began taking a hard look at what was going on was in part because of the number of females that were being sent to prison. A large number of females were being sent to prison because many of the rural areas didn't have treatment programs. And many of the judges thought if they sent them to prison, that at least in prison they'll begin to get treatment. And we all began to realize, and all the criminal justice system, as well as state government, that we need to do something in the communities, that sending people to prison for treatment was not the right way to go about dealing with the issue. So what I tend to see, yes, okay, I see criminals every day, but I also see regular people making bad decisions. I will have young people in front of me who are busted because they stole pills from their parents. And you need to understand that if caught with one oxycodone pill, okay, you can get charged with a felony of the 5th degree. Okay, that's a minimum sentence of 6 months in prison to a maximum sentence of 12 months in prison. Now, the same person who is stealing pills from their parents may decide, sort of as what Lewis indicated, you know what, I can make a little money selling those pills to my friends. If caught selling those pills, okay, then they're going to get charged with trafficking, okay, and that starts off as a felony of the 3rd degree, which looks now at a maximum of 36 months in prison with a $10,000 fine. Now, I mention this because I think folks need to be educated. Many times a young person would think, particularly someone that's in active addiction, well, if they're in active addiction, they're probably not thinking, which is part of the issue. It's not that big a deal. Taking a couple of pills from my mom or my dad, or selling a few pills to my friends. Not understanding or appreciating that there are consequences that will follow them if they continue doing the things that they're doing. I also see people, and again, a lot of young folks as well, with theft offenses. Now, many folks are thinking, okay, theft offense. Well, yeah, it may start off like a petty theft offense, but what I tend to see are the receiving stolen properties, stealing guns from their parents and taking them to a pawn shop, breaking into a house and getting items that they could take down to the salvage place so that they could get paid for the salvage. And 9 times out of 10, the reason that they're doing this is to feed their addiction. So it's extremely important, particularly if you recognize in your home, in your community, with your child or with someone else's child, that what seems like something harmless, okay, so my child took one of my opiate pills, okay, it's no big deal. But it is a big deal because it can end up becoming a crime. So you need to educate your children as well as educating yourself. I mean, you giving your pills to your child could end up being something that could be prosecuted as well. So many times, actually dealing with a case right now where police officers, and this is the story of so many of the cases that I deal with, traffic stop for whatever reason, speeding, running a red light. Officer stops the car. Officer smells marijuana in the car. Because of the fact that the officer smells marijuana in the car, they begin to do a narcotics search of the vehicle. They do a search of the vehicle, and what do they find? They find some pills in a pill bottle that's not marked with a prescription on it. And so what started off as what would have ended up being just a traffic ticket now ends up with someone being charged with a narcotics offense because of the fact that they were driving around smoking weed in their car and hiding pills so that they could not, hiding pills so that they could use them at some later date. So it's extremely important being educated with the fact that just using pills is something that can get you into the system, sort of as Lewis indicated as well. One of the other things that they wanted me to talk about with you as well is the whole youth drinking and driving. You know, a youth could be charged with an offense for drinking and driving if they test .02. Now, the legal limit is .08. Okay, the reason for that is because they're not supposed to be drinking at all. So if officers stop them with any amount of alcohol in their system, they're going to get charged with an offense that's related to drinking and driving. Now, these offenses, if the same person ends up with, a youth ends up with an OVI in which they test over the legal limit, despite their age, they can be charged with an OVI. Now, in our court, we deal with the folks that have gotten 4, 5, 6, and 7. But for a lot of people who think that it's not that big a deal, that if you're getting something to drink and then you get behind the wheel of an automobile. I had a young lady in my court last week that was talking to my drug court participants, and she was sharing her experience about how she started drinking while she was in high school and how good that drink felt. And she was talking about the fact that she got busted for OVI, and her mother's concern was that she got caught, not that her daughter was drinking and driving. And so the message that you send and provide as to this is not right or this is not acceptable is an important message because so many people that I deal with in my drug court get mixed messages growing up. That, my parents drink, so what's the big deal? My parents used to smoke weed, or they're currently smoking weed, so what's the big deal? In their mind, that's something that's totally acceptable. That it's more than just completing a program to be successful. One of the things that I've seen is that through the court system is that people that have means, that have children in addiction, will quickly send them to a place in California or Florida for them to complete a program. I don't know what sort of message that sends to that child as to whether or not their parent really loves them when they have shipped them off. Because one of the strongest things to be successful in dealing with addiction and recovery is the support and the love that you get from the people around you. So it's extremely important for you to be a part of your loved one's recovery because you can't imagine how much you will contribute to their health.